The sweet aromas of the apple fritter, cinnamon roll, and blueberry muffin are hard to resist. So making it home without reaching into the McDonald's bag is no easy task. Make it easier by ordering ahead on the McDonald's app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Mobile order and pay at participating McDonald's.
You know what goes into your morning cup of coffee. 2%, maybe half and half. You know what you put into your tank and what your clothes are made of. But do you know what goes into your electricity? California is powered by clean energy for most of the day. But at peak hours, those clean energy sources become less available. So when you use less energy from 4 to 9 p.m., you're choosing to keep it golden. Learn more at energyupgradecalifornia.org/radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is an evolution of the Epstein Chronicles episode. We're going to talk a little bit about Gwendolyn Beck today. She is somebody who has not been in the heart of the conversation when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, but she's certainly somebody that needs to be talked about, especially considering we just talked about all the people that that Dubin donated to politically. We're definitely going to have to talk about this lady who Epstein bankrolled after his conviction, mind you, gave her $12,600 in 2014 for her campaign. And he was basically half of her whole entire war chest. Now, the question is, why would Jeffrey Epstein give her this kind of money? And why would Gwendolyn Beck accept this kind of money? And these articles are going to explain in a little bit more detail about who she is and what role she played in Jeffrey Epstein's world. So, we're going to jump into both of these articles, and they're both from Arlington Now. One is from 2015, and the other is from 2018. So the first one we're going to read is from January 8th, 2015. There's no author that it's attributed to, so I can't give them credit. I'd love to, but it says arlingtonnow.com, so I'm guessing it's a staff article, perhaps. Either way. The headline, Notorious Billionaire. You see that headline? How swift is that, huh? Slick, right? Oh, Notorious Billionaire. How about Pedophile Billionaire donated to local congressional campaign? Billionaire financier, pedophile financier, Jeffrey Epstein isn't making many political donations these days. Well, you could say that again, right? With him pushing up daisies at this point, with him being dead, yeah, the political donations aren't coming in anymore. Remember, this article is from 2015, folks. They would almost certainly get returned, given that the former Democratic donor is a convicted sex offender and has recently been in the headlines for claims that he used underage girls to sex traffic, with Britain's Prince Andrew named as a potential beneficiary. Now remember, 2015. So this is before there was all the, the hype of the second arrest, before the Alex Acosta firing, before all the dominoes started to fall. So why did Gwendolyn Beck, a long-shot independent candidate for Congress in Virginia's 8th District last year, receive what appears to be Epstein's only political donation of 2014, totaling $12,600? And that is the question, folks, right? Why would Gwendolyn Beck accept this money from Jeffrey Epstein? Why would she take this money from a man who is convicted of what he is convicted of? There is no rational explanation for anybody to accept these funds. None whatsoever. Beck, a Roslyn resident who used to work in the financial industry, tells ArlingtonNow.com she simply asked a number of billionaires in her Rolodex for donations, and Epstein was one of them. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what occurred. I'm sure that you were going through your Rolodex as you were eating your tea and crumpets and caviar, and you were like, oh, well, I'll ask this billionaire for money and this billionaire for money. Oh, well, what about Jeffrey Epstein? Really? How out of touch? How out of touch is Gwendolyn Beck, folks? And the fact that she took the money from Jeffrey Epstein is just beyond disgusting, okay? Just beyond disgusting. I did call every billionaire I know to ask for campaign funds, and Mr. Epstein sent the donations, Beck said via email. I haven't spoken with him personally in years. During my years at Morgan Stanley, started in 1995, I managed a portion of his investment funds, about $65 million, and knew him personally. While the press has tagged him a man of mystery because they can't explain how he made his money, it's mostly a combination of real estate and complex derivatives. Oh, she's so much smarter than the rest of us. Complex derivatives. Well, why don't you spell it out for us, Miss Beck? Why don't you spell it out in detail so that the rest of us can understand what that means? You simp. You enabling simp. Look, this lady was way neck deep with Epstein. No one's managing $65 million of Jeffrey Epstein's money and not being in contact with him on a regular basis. And if anyone thinks that they stopped being in contact after Jeffrey Epstein, got in trouble or when she left the company, like she said, there's zero chance that happened. People like her do not back burner people like Jeffrey Epstein that can advance their lives and can advance their careers. These people are so power hungry. People like this Beck lady, obviously, they're so power hungry that they'll do anything to move in these circles. They'll act any way. They'll get rid of whatever sort of morals that they might have just to be part of it. And it's all about power. It's all about that draw of power. And these people are sick. They're sickened by it. Beck continued, at the time, he had a girlfriend he was very close to. Yeah, okay, sure. And was a hardworking, thoughtful man. He comes from a poor background and made a lot of money really fast. You see how they always try and normalize him and they try and make us cheer for him because he came from a poor background as if that is, okay. That's great. He came from a poor background. Perfect. But does that give him, a shield to be part of a human trafficking ring and be part of this whole entire blackmail operation he was involved in because he was poor and he made money really fast? We should overlook that, just like the other people. Oh, they have charities. They can't be that bad. Yeah, right. F all of you. I think he went off the deep end when she left. I left Morgan Stanley by this time and had no relationship with them, and got involved in very bad behaviors, which he sought therapy for and paid his time in jail. Again, look, he sought therapy for it, folks, so it's okay. And he did his time in jail, so it's all good. Let's forgive and forget. Let's forgive and forget. No, this is not something that gets forgiven or forgotten, and anybody who is accepting money from this guy or making excuses for him or standing up and defending him the way Beck is here it's just beyond the pale. It is beyond the pale, and she definitely needs to be called out. She definitely needs to be put on the radar. She's definitely an enabler, and she obviously has a deep relationship with the man. She was managing $65 million of his dough. And if he was only worth $577 billion, then $65 million of $577 billion is a significant percentage, right? Would he let somebody who is not in his inner circle or somebody that does not have his trust manage that kind of money of his? We're talking about Jeffrey Epstein here, folks. You really think he's letting her manage that money if he is not sure that it's a safe move? Beck, who ran on a platform of being financially responsible, socially inclusive, said her decision to accept cash given to her campaign and 2 PACs she controls is a question of forgiveness. Huh, you believe this lady? A question of forgiveness, huh? No, nobody forgives Jeffrey Epstein, okay? Nobody. Not me, not anybody else listening to this podcast. Nobody with a rational, sane mind forgives Jeffrey Epstein. Did voters forgive Marion Barry, etc.? The list is long, she said. I am deeply opposed to and shocked by his behavior, but he has paid his debt to society. Although humanly flawed, he can be a great asset to our nation because he understands finance on a level most people can't comprehend. I can't comprehend how you could even think that, Gwendolyn Beck. I can't comprehend how you could even go to those lengths to protect this man and say those things. Did voters forgive Marion Barry for smoking crack with a hooker? Yeah. Grown-ass man smoking crack with a hooker. A little different than a grown-ass man running a trafficking operation where he's trafficking little girls and molesting little girls over decades. There's a big difference. All right? People are willing to turn the other cheek for stealing in politics. People are willing to turn the other cheek for an affair in politics. You're cheating on your wife. People are willing to turn the other cheek. He did drugs. He got a DUI. People are not going to turn the other cheek. And people are not going to agree with your analogy here that it's the same thing, what Marion Barry did and what Jeffrey Epstein did. It's not the same thing, okay? People aren't going to forgive that. The only people that are going to forgive that are the people that are part of his inner circle and the people that probably were running with him and don't think what he was doing was wrong. Because there's a lot of people, folks, that don't think what he was doing was wrong, obviously. Beck finished a distant third in November general election with 2.7% of the vote to 31.7% for Republican Micah Edmond and 63% for the winner, Democrat Don Beyer. That's despite other large donations to her campaign coffers from a number of other wealthy, notable people. And let's keep all of these people's names in mind. And I bet you if we punch their names into the handy old DuckDuckGo, they'll have connections with Jeffrey Epstein somewhere down the line as well. Because as I always say, this rabbit hole is deep. And these threads are all connected. And when you pull on one thread, you come to another. And it's just an ongoing, never-ending task. And that's all these people are connected. They all ran in the same circles. That doesn't mean they were all involved in the trafficking ring, folks. Not at all. But at some level, people need to start asking themselves, what the bleepity bleep 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 is wrong with the higher crest so-called elite society? Richard Kramer, chairman of Republic Holdings, donated $7,600. Mort Zuckerman, billionaire owner of the New York Daily News and U.S. News and World Report, donated $2,600. George Albrecht, owner of a Boston area car dealership chain, also donated $2,600. Why is the owner, Mort Zuckerman, of the New York Daily News, donating to a political candidate, a little-known political candidate, mind you, who has ties with seedy characters? It's just a question. Beck said they all supported her centrist message. Oh, I'm sure that's all it was. They all believe in our fiscally responsible, socially inclusive message and that Congress needs at least one independent, she said. This bipartisan fighting needs to stop. Mort Zuckerman and Richard Kramer have interests in Virginia District 8, believe in our message, and think I should continue to get a voice for independence. Mr. Albrecht is a like-minded, wealthy family friend who is helping me. A like-minded, wealthy family friend, huh? So you speak for Mr. Albrecht? I wonder if Mr. Albrecht also hung out with Jeffrey Epstein if you're so like-minded. Were you guys running in the same circles? Wouldn't shock me in the least. Career-wise, Beck was a sales manager for the now-defunct Eastern Airlines before transitioning to the financial industry in the 1990s, working for firms like Credit Suisse and Morgan Stanley. A few years ago, she wrote a book, Flirting with Finance, which teaches finance through romantic stories. Really? Through romantic stories? These people are so odd, folks. These people are so damn weird. When they say they're not like us, they're right. They are not like us. We're average, just normal, human beings going about our lives. These people are sick. They're all sick in the head. She was photographed attending a state dinner in 2010 with Senator Robert Menendez, as the smoking gun pointed out yesterday. Her and Robert Menendez were also connected as boyfriend and girlfriend, and she flew on the plane of, I forget the doctor's name, the guy that was involved in the whole Menendez corruption hearing. She flew on that plane to the Dominican Republic to meet with Robert Menendez, her then boyfriend. So sure funny how all these people get to fly around on all these private jets, huh, folks? We're lucky we get to fly coach on a plane at this point in time with how expensive everything is. And these people are just puttering around the world on these expensive private jets on someone else's dime while they're engaging in all sorts of corruption and screwy activity. Isn't it a fantastic time to be alive, folks? Most recently, Beck said she has been volunteering in Arlington, studying for a master's degree in gerontology from George Mason University and working as an analyst for an investment firm. As for future political plans, she said she was still contemplating her next move. Not sure at this point, she said. I do believe Congress needs more centrist independence and that our country would be better served with their voices being heard. Yeah, what the Congress doesn't need is anyone like you, Ms. Beck. We certainly do not need anyone like you with such a low moral compass that you would accept money from Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted of what he was convicted of. And not only that, but for you to come out and say it's about forgiveness and that Jeffrey's a great man and an asset. How dare you? How dare you? Do you not think about what the survivors think when they hear people like you saying this, somebody that ran for Congress, somebody that was in control at J.P. Morgan of a big portion of Epstein's dough, somebody that has a bit of a platform? The only reason she would say this is because she believes it. And that's, again, I'm coming to the conclusion that a lot of these people that enabled Jeffrey Epstein, not only enabled Jeffrey Epstein, but they don't think there was anything wrong with his behavior, it seems like. Like, no big deal. No big deal. He's still bringing in the dough, right? He's still an asset, right? And that's what it seems like. And it's sick, it's disgusting, and it needs to stop. All right, so the second article from Arlington Now as well. Headline, New Flight Logs Photo Show Former Local Congressional Candidate with Epstein and Prince Andrew. Oh, no. So let's remember in 2015, we're not that close. I just managed some of his money. It was a professional relationship. Meanwhile, she's on the flight log with Epstein, handsy Andy, on the Lolita Express, doing her thing. But in 2015, she didn't know anything, right? Again, this lady needed to be put on blast. She's certainly one of the enablers. And shout out to the listener, Chad, who brought her to my attention. Because like I always say, folks, a lot of this stuff slips through the cracks. And there's a lot of people to catch up on here. So if there's somebody that you folks think that a spotlight needs to be dropped on them and that we should talk about them a little more, about their role and what they did as far as being involved with Epstein, then shoot me some email and I'll definitely do some research into it. And if I think it's something that needs to be put on blast, I will certainly run with it. So thanks a lot, Chad. Good work. Headline, New Flight Logs Photo Show Former Local Congressional Candidate with Epstein and Prince Andrew. September 3rd, 2019. It says Ari as the person who wrote the article. I don't know if that's just somebody with one name that works for the company or I don't know. But either way, thanks a lot, Ari. Arlington's one-time congressional candidate Gwendolyn Beck reportedly flew on notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's private jets and was photographed partying with him and Prince Andrew. Two British newspapers reported on the revelations last week, focusing on the Prince's association, but also mentioning Beck. The 2014 independent candidate for Virginia's 8th congressional district told Arlington Today that her name is being dragged into this despite not doing anything wrong. No, that's incorrect. That is incorrect. Not doing anything wrong? First of all, you accepted money from Jeffrey Epstein, and basically what you were doing is legitimizing him when you accepted that money. He can go to other candidates now and he could pitch, well, Gwendolyn Beck took my money. Why won't you? I've been forgiven by society. Gwendolyn Beck says so. So A, you were involved in that, okay? B, you're flying around hanging out with these two numbnuts. What did you see, Miss Beck? What did you see? Were you given any money? Did Jeffrey Epstein pump any money into you that wasn't on the books? Were you part of the criminal enterprise? These are all questions that need to be asked, and I'm sorry that she feels she's dragged into this, but you can't run with these dudes and then put up a defense for Epstein the way she does and not think that people are going to want to dig a little bit deeper and see what's going on. The Guardian reported last week that new flight logs indicate that Andrew flew on Epstein's private jet with Beck in 1999, around the time Beck has said she managed about $65 million of the billionaire's investment funds for Morgan Stanley. Again, that's not somebody that just has a professional relationship, folks, all right? You don't get, your buddy doesn't come pick you up in his Boeing if you guys aren't friends. Nobody's just bringing you out on the Boeing to hang out with the Prince of England if it's just a professional relationship. So she should just be honest about her relationship. If she doesn't want to get dragged into it, be honest about your relationship. That's all. Beck flew with Epstein on his jet multiple times in the late 90s log show, including with former Treasury Secretary and Harvard President Larry Summers. There's another guy that's going to have a deeper look, folks. Larry Summers definitely is hip deep in this whole Epstein thing as well. And we're gonna dig a little deeper into him, but I don't know exactly when. I'm gonna get around to it at some point. There's just a lot for me to dig into right now. And again, like usual, like I say, just a one-man operation here. And it's a lot of time and resources go into this podcast. So I'm definitely gonna get to Larry Summers. I just don't know exactly when. Women have accused Epstein of using his Boeing 727, nicknamed the Lolita Express, to traffic underage girls in New York, Florida, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. You know what, that bothers me. How come they never add Santa Fe? They need to add Santa Fe to these articles because Santa Fe was a place that this was happening as well. And what about the girls that were abused there? They're just going to be forgotten? Well, not by me, folks. Another few days, well, a couple weeks, and I'll be in Santa Fe. So they're certainly not forgotten by me. But in these articles, when they only mention the Virgin Islands and New York and Florida, it's mind-boggling to me. Investigators recently subpoenaed his personal pilots in connection with the accusations. Logs have shown passengers over the years included world leaders like President Trump and Bill Clinton, but have not indicated passengers took part in the crimes with which Epstein was charged. Epstein died in a Manhattan jail cell. Last month, his death was ruled as suicide. Allegedly. Beck was also captured in a photo from 2002 shared by the Daily Mirror, which was taken at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida. It shows Beck smiling, standing in a circle with Epstein, Andrew, and now First Lady Melania Trump, then Melania Noss. Hey, look, folks, there's no doubt that up until 2003, Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump were hanging tough. These guys were seen at several events together, and we know that all of these billionaires roll in the same circles, right? So there's no denying it. You can't, I know there's a lot of people that like President Trump that listen to the podcast, but you can't let your bias seep in. It's fact that President Trump was hanging out with these people. It's fact that a lot of this was taking place at Mar-a-Lago, and it's just, it's a matter of record at this point. There's no disputing it. Now there's no evidence that Trump took part, like it says right here in the article, that that took part in any of the abuse of Epstein's trafficking circle, just like we don't have the evidence that Bill Clinton took part. But we also don't have, let me continue, we also don't have evidence that exonerates either of them as well. We're going to keep digging, and we're going to follow the evidence. And if the evidence leads to President Trump, he will be lit right up along with the rest of these people. Same goes for Bill Clinton. There is no quarter, and there is no give on my end when it comes to this situation. I don't care who is involved. Whoever is involved in this needs to be brought to light and needs to be put on blast, because this cannot occur. This cannot occur, especially at the highest levels of our government, folks. Beck reiterated the prince's public denials of wrongdoing in Epstein's company. Prince Andrew has a delightful personality and is a total gentleman. Yeah, he is. Ask Virginia Roberts how much of a gentleman Prince Andrew is. Gwendolyn Beck, you don't want to be dragged into this? You're still defending these people, but you don't want to be dragged into it, huh? Sorry, you're dragged into it. Prince Andrew is not a gentleman. He doesn't have a delightful personality. He's a barbarian brute, and he's a moron. How about that, Miss Beck? I firmly agree with the statements he has made publicly. Beck was listed in Epstein's Black Book under a Massage Florida heading, as reported by the Smoking Gun in 2015. The book also contained the contact information for wealthy businessmen and underage victims who said they were forced to provide naked massages for Epstein and his friends. Well, naked massages, so I guess that means that Dershowitz was out, huh? No, because we know he kept his underwear on. Beck told the Smoking Gun at the time that she had received a couple of massages at Epstein's home from a masseuse, but had never given any herself or spotted underage girls. Whoa, hold on, full stop. She received a couple of massages at Epstein's home, huh? From a masseuse? Which masseuse? Was it one of these underage girls? Who was it? So you can't just say, I got a massage from a masseuse. We all know that Jeffrey Epstein didn't have real masseuses at his house. He had little girls that he was picking up at the schools, or nubiles that he was picking up at Central Park, or wherever he was getting these young girls shipped in from. Those are the girls that were giving massages at his house, folks, not professionals. If these guys wanted professional massages with the size of their bank accounts and the money they have and the contacts they have, I'm sure that they could have been hooked up at the greatest spas in the world. Why didn't they do that? Because it was not about massages, okay? It was about power and exerting that power over people that could not defend themselves against it. And that's really what it comes down to with these people. Power, power, and more power. I'm just sorry that I got dragged into all of this, Beck told Arlington Now today of her association with Epstein, adding that she was at a lack of words. That's what she's sorry about, folks. Not sorry that what happened to the girls, right? Not sorry what happened to the survivors. No, none of that. But she's sorry that she got dragged into this. Just like the Queen, just like Prince Andrew, just like the rest of these people, just like the Wexners. It's never about the girls who were abused. It's always about these sons of bitches, right? Well, me, I. In addition to being a VIP at his home and on his private jet, Beck was also the first candidate to accept political contributions from Epstein, as reported by Arlington Now in 2015 after he was forced to register as a sex offender in 2008 for soliciting sex from a minor. Again, she provided him credibility by accepting this donation. If just for that alone, she should be put on blast. You want to run for office and you want to sit and you want to be the ruler over other people and you want to be the one who sets the laws over the rest of us, and you don't even have the good enough sense to not accept money from Jeffrey Epstein and then to make excuses for his behavior? Come on. Holy cow. Talk about being tone deaf. Epstein donated a total of $12,600 to help Beck's 2014 campaign. The money made up about half of her eventual war chest against incumbent Representative Don Beyer, who won the November general election that year with 63% of the vote compared to Beck's 2.7% of the vote. I thought that Jeffrey was healed. I don't know, Beck told Arlington Now today. Yeah, real healed. That's exactly what you thought. No, you thought that he would be able to help you with your career. You thought that that money would propel you to victory. You thought that with his backing that you would have a chance to flip that seat into your favor. But you were wrong. And in my opinion, all you have done is enable Jeffrey Epstein, young lady. All you have done, Miss Gwendolyn Beck, is enable Jeffrey Epstein and give him more credibility and more clout to continue with his reign of terror. I hope you feel good about yourself. One group, Coalition for Independent Voices in Congress, returned its $5,000 portion of the donation in March 2015 after the FEC sent a letter about the violation, according to records shared by the Center for Responsive Politics. The federal agency wrote in November of that year that after considering the circumstances of this matter, the commission has determined to exercise its prosecutorial discretion and take no action. Of course they didn't. Jeffrey Epstein, anything he's involved in, there's never any legal action. All the people that are involved with Epstein, scot-free. Don't you know I roll with Epstein? You can't touch me. He's protected by intelligence. Hands off. CIVC Treasurer Ginger Voigt did not immediately respond to requests for more information. Since last week's revelations involving Prince Andrew, Beck said reporters for British news outlets have been repeatedly trying to call her. One, she claimed, even tried to trick the doorman at her building into letting them visit her. Aw, poor Miss Beck. Are you under the microscope? Are people asking questions about your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew? Well, here's a little bit of unsolicited advice from me. Don't hang out with scumbags like this, and you won't have to worry about answering questions. I would like to stay out of the press, Beck said. I'm a private person. Yeah, good luck with that now. Since her unsuccessful bid for Congress, Beck, who described herself as a fiscally responsible, socially inclusive, campaigned for President Trump in 2016, arguing that more business people should run for public office. Also, since her campaign, Beck started working at Virginia Hospital Centers as the manager of senior health. Doesn't shock me. It does not shock me that she is right back in there. Oh, I'm going to campaign for President Trump now. Talk about reprehensible. If I was President Trump, I would have came out right away and said, no, I'm good. I don't need you to campaign for me. Do something else with your life. But as we've seen from Trump's behavior, he's another one, folks. Don't get it twisted. All Trump cares about is power as well. He wants to consolidate his power as well. And to hold on to that power, he was willing to even have Alan Dershowitz defend him. So let's be real. Let's be honest, folks, and let's be real. Beck, a Rosslyn resident, says she loves Arlington. Her reason for talking to ARL ARL now despite evading other media, but is now moving out for reasons unrelated to Epstein. Yeah, of course, it's always unrelated to Epstein, isn't it? It never has anything to do with Epstein or these people's ties with Epstein. It's just because, it's time for a change. Give me a break. I resigned from the hospital on July 1st, so I will stop working there the end of September, and we're moving out of Arlington, said Beck. This has been in the works for quite some time. Well, folks, there you have it. Gwendolyn Beck, the only politician to accept money from Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction, a woman who, with that donation acceptance, gave Jeffrey Epstein credibility once again, a woman who was on Jeffrey Epstein's planes with Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew, and I'm sure some girls who were not of age, right? Do I have evidence to prove that? I do not. But what's the likely scenario, folks? All right? What, they're just flying around just to fly around? So this is another entry into the journal. This is another piece to the puzzle, another person that enabled Jeffrey Epstein, and another person that needs to be discussed, maybe not as at length like Ghislaine Maxwell, but certainly somebody that if we were the FBI, right? Say we were the FBI and we had a bunch of people's pictures pinned up on the board as we were doing our investigation. She's certainly going to be up on that board. Maybe on one of the bottom rungs, but she is definitely up on that board. She definitely enabled Jeffrey Epstein. And, she's been involved with a lot of corrupt people. So going forward, she is on our radar. We're going to be making sure we keep updated on news about Miss Beck. And if anything else happens or anything breaks with the story or, some more information comes out relating to the Epstein case where she's concerned, we will certainly bring it to you. All right, everybody, if you would like to contact me, you can do that by emailing me at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And also, if you would like to help the show, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, everybody, we're not done for the day. I'll be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. I will talk to you all then. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
There's no better feeling than getting a great deal, like a hotel room upgrade or a free car wash with every tank of gas. Maybe unlimited chips and salsa with your burrito. And now, as an AT&T Wireless customer, you can get an exclusive deal on a super fast internet experience with AT&T Fiber. Get consistently fast speed, even during peak times, and a great deal with AT&T Fiber. Learn more at att.com/fiber offer. Limited availability in select areas based on wired connection to gateway. Restrictions apply. There's no better feeling than getting a great deal, like a hotel room upgrade or a free car wash with every tank of gas. Maybe unlimited chips and salsa with your burrito. And now, as an AT&T Wireless customer, you can get an exclusive deal on a super fast internet experience with AT&T Fiber. Get consistently fast speed, even during peak times, and a great deal with AT&T Fiber. Learn more at att.com/fiber offer. Limited availability in select areas based on wired connection to gateway. Restrictions apply.